welcome back here at BSN Network. Here they welcome you back here at the BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Thursday, July 2nd. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far. I know I am. Hopefully everybody had a good rest of their day yesterday. Today, we got a lot of sports to talk about. We got J.R. Smith and the Lakers. We got the NFL preseason cut to 2 games. They obviously cut the NFL preseason to 2 games. I'll talk about that. So 2 breaking news there. And then we got the NHL draft lottery. Obviously, that went on. We're going to be talking about that, what all went down with the NHL draft lottery, all that good stuff. One quick announcement. I know I have a flag here. It's obviously 4th of July. Putting it up. I might keep it. It looks pretty cool. Obviously with 4th of July and, obviously things like that, it's nice to, have the flag and stuff for 4th of July. It's obviously Independence Day. We all are not new to this. Obviously everybody knows that. Obviously Independence Day, things like that. And honestly, every day you could obviously just look at a flag and, just realize all of the soldiers that are putting their lives on the line to defend that flag. So I want to thank them for that. And, obviously, just like I just said, all these soldiers that are putting their lives on the line each and every day, to defend that flag and to really, if it was never for them, I wouldn't be sitting here today doing a podcast, if it was never for them. And that's the real big thing. And I just want to say thank you for that. Obviously, every day you should say that, and not just on Veterans Day and stuff like that, because, every day they're doing it, not just on Veterans Day, they're defending flag and stuff, every day it is. So, obviously, they're risking their lives, putting their lives on the line for us, not even just me, for everybody in general, to just do everyday things, and obviously just to defend the flag, so I want to thank everybody for that. And obviously, it is 4th of July. And 4th of July is obviously always a nice holiday because, you always have the hot dog eating contest. You got the, you got all, fireworks. You got all the, gatherings and stuff. Obviously, that will probably be a little bit minimized this year, although I'm sure there might be some people doing fireworks. That will probably be minimized. You won't see these big group gatherings. You might see smaller gatherings, obviously, because of everything going on. But still, you got to celebrate it as close as you can as you have in the past. It's almost like Memorial Day. It's a time to get outside, get some fresh air, do things like that, instead of, just kind of sitting inside, because I know a lot of people have that. Although luckily I've been able to really just get out and about and do things like that. So, I'm a very outdoorsy guy. I love the outdoors. So that's just something I wanted to make clear in the beginning. Obviously 4th of July is coming up and everything like that. Today's Thursday, like I already said, so 4th of July is on Saturday. But today we got a lot of sports to talk about, as I already said. So we had some breaking news yesterday. I mean, we were expecting it. I talked about this on Monday, I think, of the pod. Monday or Friday. I either talked about it on Monday or Friday of the podcast. I'm not 100% sure which day it completely was. It was either Monday or Friday. But anyway, J.R. Smith, and we were all expecting this, although it did come a little later. It was supposed to come on Tuesday. It came on Wednesday. But J.R. Smith is officially a Laker. So he was a free agent. Lakers, obviously Avery Bradley said that he's not going to play in the NBA restart. And things like that. He said that he's not going to play in the NBA restart. He's not going to, obviously, like I said, be able to play in the NBA restart, because he has, people at home, he has young children. He said that he doesn't really want to put them at risk. He said he doesn't want to make them, he doesn't want him to get sick and all of a sudden them get sick. Obviously, with the rising cases in Florida, this whole NBA restart thing is getting a little interesting. Now all of a sudden people are saying, oh, well, don't even do it. Don't even do it. And I like what Adam Silver's doing. Now, obviously, the player safety, and I said this with the MLB as well, is at the top of their priorities. So if there's something wrong and they believe it's wrong, then they'll make a change to it. But obviously, with the time right now on July 2nd, 2020, Obviously, Adam Silver still believes that there will be a season, still believes that the players and their safety will be okay. Still believes that, everything will run smoothly, that they will be able to get through this and play obviously the bubble. Obviously the bubble is the players kind of have to be inside of that bubble. Almost just like picture a bubble, kind of have to be, with their team and stuff. And that's the whole thing, like I was saying with, the whole Avery Bradley situation. That's why some players are sitting out. It is not because, it's not really because they're really worried about their health. It's more because they're worried about obviously some of it is that they're worried about their health, but obviously some other parts of it is that they're kind of worried about their family's health. Maybe, for example, in Ryan Zimmerman's case, he has a grandma that has multiple sclerosis. I think that's how you say it, and has a newborn baby back at his house. So, obviously, he doesn't want to put himself at risk with them putting them at risk. That's understandable. I get it. And I especially get it if you have young kids at home, whether they're newborn or whether they're, just young in general. Because, maybe, especially a newborn, maybe if you get it, you might not be, your immune system isn't if you're just a couple months old, your immune system is not going to be very built that much to really fight the virus, and that could get ugly. So, obviously, I think that what they want to really do is make sure that all the players are safe. And there are some players that are sprouting out throughout the league getting the virus, so that doesn't help some of these players' cases. But obviously that's the whole situation with the NBA. Do I think they'll play? Probably yes. Now, like I said, the MLB right now is in a much better situation with the NBA. The NBA has way more people sitting out. Just in the past couple of days, they had DeAndre Jordan sit out. Now Kyrie and KD both aren't going to show up. Now, they weren't going to play, but they're both not going to show up. So the Nets sideline, to be honest, might be empty. And to tell you the truth, with this whole NBA restart thing, I was really looking forward to it, but now, the Nets don't even stand a chance. We're literally, we probably don't even have Dinwiddie because he has the virus, and I don't imagine them and they have to report in a couple of days. I think they report, I'm not sure completely when, but Dinwiddie has it. They're not going to let him in. And I think that's what they should be doing with all these players. They should test all these players. The NHL, too, they're hitting a little bit of a rocky road. They're hitting, 26 players have tested positive, I think 26. MLB right now, a lot of people were complaining, and it's so funny. It's so ironic. The MLB was the league in the first place that was in a horrible position. They were in a horrible position. They were in a position, everybody was like, oh, they were in a horrible position. Everybody was like, oh, they can't even come to an agreement. I was one of them. I mean, I'm still not that happy with the MLB. I really believe they should. I'm happy that the MLB's back, but I really believe they could have gotten a deal done way before, a month or two earlier than what they really did. I think some of it was the players, most of it was the players. And there's one, and everybody was like, oh, the NBA and NHL, they're in the clear. And everybody's like, oh, the NBA, here we go. The NBA is going to have a season. Now, all of a sudden, the NBA is really struggling to, possibly, lower the cases, really find and see what they're, what the real problem is. So, obviously, with the whole NBA situation. So, I know that some might sound a little off topic, but it does kind of lead into my next topic with the whole Avery Bradley thing. So, Avery Bradley did sit out. He's not going to play for what I said. His family doesn't want to get it, doesn't want to give it to his family. Because remember, after these guys are done playing, they won't see their families for a good month or two. After they're done playing, I think they have to be in quarantine for at least 2 weeks and then I think that's what the MLB is. I think they have to get tested. No, the MLB, if you get it, you have to test negative twice. And then you can go back into the league. That's twice. And another thing is that the MLB told the MLB said do not tell anybody the names. So if a player gets the virus, you cannot tell them, you cannot say who their names are. Now, you probably will know who their name, you probably will know who they are the next game because you'll realize who's not in the lineup. You'll realize who's not in, you'll realize who's not in the dugout. You'll realize all that stuff. You'll start to connect the dots and be like, oh, this guy's got it. If some random player, like Billy Bob Joe, was hitting third that game, the next day wasn't seen in the dugout, and they reported a case of the virus. Now, they said that the MLB did say that they could say a player has gotten the virus, but they cannot say who. So if Billy Bob Joe, for example, walks over, I don't want to really use a player because I don't want to really wish bad on them, but if Billy Bob Joe walks over and he's hitting third the one game, then the next day, let's just say that night, the Yankees, for example, say, or any team in the MLB says, we have a virus case. Next day, Billy Bob Joe doesn't show up to the games, not hitting third, not in the dugout, nowhere to be seen in the clubhouse, nowhere to be seen anywhere. Process of elimination, start connecting the dots. Billy Bob Joe is the one who's got the virus, right? So eventually, people probably will know. And same thing with the NBA. There's 3 Pelicans right now that have it. You know what the whole news has been? Does Zion have the virus? Does these players have the virus? So, honestly, and you'll be able to even realize it more in the NBA because you're going to have less players sitting on the bench than you will let people in the dugout. But you're going to have more of a chance of getting in the NBA because let's just say Billy Bob Joe's in the NBA game. All right, now Billy Bob Joe plays baseball in the NBA, right? He's in the NBA. He's in a game. He's playing, right? Some NBA team announces they have a virus case, and Billy Bob Joe doesn't show up to the next game, isn't starting, isn't on the bench, isn't in the locker room, isn't anywhere to be found. So that's when, you'll start to connect the dots. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to make the players kind of private. When you have it, nobody needs to hear that. You try to keep it private. I think what the real big deal is. Because I think sometimes when it leaks out, everybody knows. And then you're going to get, either when it's on social media, you're going to get attacked by 1 million people, by all your fans saying, oh, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And it's almost like you're the most popular guy on the planet. And, you're getting attacked by all those people, right? So, like I said, I think that kind of, I know is a little off topic, but what I'm trying to bring into that whole Avery Bradley point was Avery Bradley's sitting out because of the family. Okay, I've already said that, and this kind of does lead into my next point. So, J.R. Smith, the Laker. Now, you all know what happened to J.R. Smith. I will run this one down. Very funny moment in the NBA. Fail. It was a big fail. But if you guys don't know it, Game 1 of the NBA Finals in 2000, I think it was actually LeBron's last year with the Cavs. 2017, 2018, something like that. It was Game 1 of the 2018, I think. 2018, 2019. Because then, no, it can't be. It got to be 2018 to 2017 to 2018, and LeBron went last year to 2019 to 2018 to 2019. Now this year is 2020 to 2019, 2020. Okay, so it was the 2018 NBA Finals, 2017, 2018 NBA Finals. So it was 2017 season, right? Because you had that, and then the next year LeBron went to Lakers, 2018. Then it was 2019. No, so it was 2018. It was 2018. It was the 2018 season, okay? And we'll just go with that. And there was about 4 seconds left on the clock, something like that. It was about 4 seconds left on the clock. And the Cavs were in a game. The Cavs were in the game. They make that free throw. They make both of their free throws. JR doesn't choke. They win that game by 1. So the Cavs right now are down by 2. They get fouled. So Hill goes up to the free throw line, shoots 1, makes it, misses the second. So as a Cavs fan, now I'm not a Cavs fan. I'm just speaking for Cavs fans. Right now, you are probably loving the situation. You get fouled, you make the first free throw. Now, even if you miss the second free throw and the Cavs got the rebound, as a Cavs fan, I'm not a Cavs fan, I'm speaking for the Cavs fans. Although I was rooting for the Cavs in that finals. I was rooting for the Cavs against all the Warriors. Against all these years against the Warriors. Okay? If you're a Cavs fan in that moment, I bet you that you would be fine with a missed free throw. Now, I wouldn't be. But if you realize that the Cavs got the rebound, you'd be like, oh, put it back up. Now, J.R. Smith got the rebound, dribbled the ball all the way out. It's really, nobody really completely knows. But what happened really was he kind of thought the game was probably tied. He thought the game, or thought they thought they were winning. And he sure enough dribbled the ball out, and LeBron had to yell to him and say, "Oh, put it up, put it up, put it up." Now they could have used a timeout. Not a lot of people realize this. This is one thing to kind of back up J.R. Smith. Now it was a pretty big fail, but a lot of people don't really realize this. They had a timeout. They could have utilized that timeout. In the heat of the moment, nobody thought of it, but in the heat of the moment, you could have called a timeout. The Cavs did have a timeout remaining. J.R. Smith gets that rebound, you burn a timeout immediately before he even starts to run. Because by the time he ran all the way over to LeBron near half court and stuff, it was like 2 seconds left. He had to quickly dribble over to the corner and just chuck up a shot. And sure enough, if they called a timeout, they would have had 3 seconds remaining. Got the inbound, got the ball in, quickly got it, shoot. It's a tie game. Okay, you miss it, you go to overtime. It would have been a less painful loss than that. But if you were to tell me that night anyway, the Cavs would be going to the overtime with the Warriors, I would think you were crazy. Then that was when LeBron punched his hand into the locker, broke his hand. The series went downhill after that. And everything went downhill after that. LeBron left the Cavs. J.R. Smith played with the Cavs one more year, struggled. Now they both meet back up on the Lakers. Now, it could have some deja vu because I'll tell you what. They're almost they're going to probably make the playoffs again. They could make the finals. Is it going to be the same exact thing? J.R. Smith, is it going to be that? And if it is, that's just crazy. That would be just crazy. So J.R. Smith, don't get me wrong. J.R. Smith's a good player. I think J.R. Smith's a very good player, to be honest. I like J.R. Smith. I think he's a good player. I think he overall is a good shooting guard, a pretty good three-point shooter. Very good three-point shot, actually. When he's on, he's on. And in the beginning of his career, he was very fascinating. He was a very good player, very good player, very fun player to watch in the beginning of his career. But, J.R. Smith, he hasn't really played a full season in a while. To be honest, he hasn't, his past couple of seasons now, besides the 2017-2018 year, he played 80 games. He was the main guy. It was him, JR, LeBron, and K. Love. Now, it was mainly LeBron. J.R. Smith mixed a little bit in there. J.R. Smith didn't have a bad season that year. He didn't really have a bad season. He was putting up about that 2017-2018 season. He was putting up about 8.3 points per game, which isn't that much. It's because it was mainly LeBron. Now, here's my one problem with J.R. Smith, and it shows throughout his career. 76 games, 55, 63, 74, 75, 35, 46, 24, 41, 11. He hasn't really played many big game seasons. Not many big game seasons. 11 last year. He averaged 4 minutes a game, or 4 games started. 11 games last year, 4 of them he started. He averaged about 20 minutes a game, and he only put up about 7 points a game. That's my one concern about J.R. Smith. Is he going to really be able to go on a Lakers team that is a true contender, a true team to win the finals this year, and show everybody that he still got stuff in him, that he still got it in him to help out a team, win a championship with a team, and still be able to play with LeBron at a high level? That's one of the big things. J.R. Smith has bounced around the league. He has bounced around the league. Now, he was drafted by New Orleans, then went to Denver, then went to the Knicks, Cavs. The Knicks, then he went to the Cavs for 1 year. Then he went back to the Knicks. Then he went to the Cavs again. And now he finds himself on the Lakers. I don't know. Like, I'm iffy with this. I don't really believe he's going to be that big of an impact because you see what he's done in the past couple of years. Like, the past couple of years, he hasn't been anything like he was in the beginning of his career. I mean, the guy is now 34 years old, which is older for a player, which is older for an NBA player. 34 years old, getting to kind of the tail end of his career. Obviously, he was drafted in 2004, so this is his like 15th season. 34 years old. I just do really believe he is going to be able to put up the big numbers. Is he going to put up 15 a night? Is he going to put up 13? How many minutes? Is he going to be able to still play with LeBron at a high level? Because LeBron's still at a high level. J.R. Smith might not be. I think as a Lakers fan, you could be happy. You could be happy about this. Not overexcited. I wouldn't be crazy excited. I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we got this. We're going to go win the finals. I would be happy. I wouldn't say I would be enthusiastic, crazy excited. I'm not saying it's a bad move. You just got to watch out. Because you look at the numbers in the past 2 years. That was without LeBron too. The past 2 years. That was without LeBron. So that means he mainly had the ball with that Cavs team. That was without LeBron where it was really just him and K-Love mixed in there a little bit. He was putting up 8.3, 6.7 per game. And now he's going on to a Lakers team that already has an awesome duo built in AD and LeBron. And you got a couple other players. You got Kuzma mixed in there. You got Dwight Howard. Now J.R. Smith gets added in there. A lot of people are talking big three. I don't really know. I don't really know if people are really saying, oh, big three, big three. Now, people are saying, oh, big three, big three, big three. I just don't really know if they would be that good, that, crazy good, that to the point where they are a true big three. 6.7 points per game, 1.6 rebounds, 1.9 assists, around up to 2. Now, here's my whole thing with J.R. Smith and going to the Lakers. This is really hyped up because he's going to an LA team. LA. Everybody talks about LA, right? LA is Lakers are one of the most popular basketball teams, sports franchises in general. Got all the celebrities there. They draw very big celebrities to the games. Because it's LA. It's Los Angeles. All the celebrities live in Los Angeles. All of them do. All the celebrities live in Los Angeles. So you got, LA. You got, obviously, like I just said 5 times, you got LA, the celebrities, the downtown area, the city. You got the Dodgers. You got the Lakers. You got the Clippers. You got LeBron, AD. Now you got J.R. Smith. It's almost like that team, like a lot of people are really hyping it up just because, it's LA, Lakers. When you hear about the Lakers, you know, most people know who the Lakers are. You ask a person who's never seen a basketball game in their life, knows nothing about it, barely knows any of the teams. You ask them who the Lakers are, they probably do. They probably do know. Now, part of them might know because, some of the stuff that has recently happened. And, you ask, each league has it. You ask somebody to name a football player. Everybody can name Tom Brady. Everybody knows who Tom Brady is. It's almost like if you ask somebody, who's the quarterback for this team? They know nothing about football. They don't watch it. They sometimes just assume it's Tom Brady. Now, you ask somebody or in the NBA, who's Michael Jordan? Everybody knows who Michael Jordan is. Same thing with baseball. You ask them who Babe Ruth is. Everybody knows who Babe Ruth is. Now, maybe some don't, but mainly people know who Babe Ruth is. Everybody knows who Babe Ruth is. Everybody does. Everybody knows who Babe Ruth is. He's the Michael Jordan of baseball. And I don't know if he's the greatest of all time, but he's the biggest name. Right? You got a couple guys that are mixed in there. Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, Mariano Rivera. Players like that, they are mixed in there to be the greatest player of all time. You got, with football, Tom Brady. Basketball, it's Michael Jordan. Baseball, it's Babe Ruth. Hockey is Wayne Gretzky. Everybody knows who Wayne Gretzky is. And that's why, big, everybody knows who LeBron is too. Big name team, Los Angeles Lakers, big city, Los Angeles, bright lights, That's why I think this deal's really getting hyped a lot. Is part of the reason because of the name of the team he's going. He's played with the Cavs for the past couple of years. It's a small organization. Now he's going to a Lakers team, one of the biggest organizations in sports, with LeBron, one of the biggest names in sports, with Anthony Davis, one of the biggest names in basketball. I wouldn't so much say sports, but in basketball. Now you got J.R. Smith. Everybody knows who J.R. Smith is, whether it's from his fail in the 2018 finals or whether it's his, just some of the, he has had very good career highlights, whether it's even with him with the Knicks. That's another big organization, one of the biggest sports franchises as well, right, with the Knicks there. With the Knicks, that would be pretty crazy. What he did with the Knicks was very good. He was in his prime of his career when he was with the Knicks, in my opinion. Very good with them. So, what would I give this deal? I would give it like a B+. A B+, yeah. I'd give it like a B. Because here's my whole thing. He's older. He hasn't shown completely J.R. Smith plays in the past couple of years. Averaging 8.3, 6.7 in the past 2 years. Only played 11 games last year. Has struggled with the Cavs. Now is he going to come to the Lakers with even more star power? I don't know if he's going to get the ball much. I think he will. I'll give it a B+. You just have to watch out. Make sure that him and LeBron can work together again. Because LeBron has really had a close duo with AD. Now, can J.R. Smith come in there and really fit with them? Will he be able to mesh with them? That'd be very interesting to watch. So that's what I got for the J.R. Smith part of this podcast. So, the NFL is shortening their season. Or preseason. My bad. Preseason. So, I'm going to get this up here in a second. So, they are shortening their preseason. To be honest, I saw this coming. I really did. I saw this coming. I'm not really surprised. Now, I wouldn't so much say I saw this coming. To be honest, I saw either cancellation of the preseason or there was no preseason. Or cancellation of the preseason or there was a 4-game preseason. But the Players Association, I think, still has to play. Every league has a Players Association. The NFL, the MLB is known for having Players Association because they really have they can have battles with them. So, if I can get this up here. So the NFL, and this is all going on with the whole, thing. Now, I don't want. So here's my whole thing with the NFL, and I don't want them to, make too many changes to the season. I really don't want that. I don't want them to make too many changes to the season. I want them to try and make it the best they can. The best they can. Whether it's just, gosh, it's not loading. Okay, there we go. Whether it's, I don't want them, I know a lot of people, Dr. Fauci and all that. I know everybody's been saying, oh, don't play it in a bubble. I don't think that's necessary. I want them to play the season as close as it can be. Because you saw the MLB couldn't do it. You saw the NBA clearly couldn't do it because they're not playing in a bubble. Because they are playing in a bubble, You saw the NHL couldn't do it. And now you see maybe the NFL is making changes. Now, I'm not saying that I'm actually kind of happy they cut the preseason in half. I don't really like what's fun about the preseason, to be honest. What makes the preseason so intriguing? It's a bunch of games that don't even matter. I get it. For some of these young players, for some of these players that are walk-ons, it's a big deal for them. They're getting a chance to live a dream. They're getting a chance to, live up a dream of playing on an NFL field, playing with an NFL team, and they try to prove their. Now, preseason, though, you really can't get the full out of everybody. You really can't. Really can't get. To be honest, you really can't get the full skill out of everybody in the preseason because it's preseason. You're playing up against a bunch of backups, practice squad players, backup players that have bounced around the league and just been on practice squads their whole career, players that might not even play in the NFL, just bounce around. Like, you really can't get a full thing out of a player, right? Like, oh, great, he beat a bunch of third stringers. Like, that's my whole thing. I feel like if you really would want to make the preseason, would be better if they just did. They should just, to be honest, they just should say one preseason game. Okay, here you go, one preseason game, prove yourself. Maybe two, actually. Maybe this will be for further down the road to do 2 preseason games. But what I'm saying with the whole Dr. Fauci thing, like, I don't see the NFL, I don't want the NFL to have that. Like, I don't want that to have, I don't want the NFL to really listen to completely all that. Because not to listen to the guy, but to be honest, like, all the other leagues are doing perfectly fine. Your league starts in September. It's July 2nd right now. So you got some time. You've got a whole nother month or two. You got about 2 months. Because this first game of the season is September 13th. We have about 2 months until the NFL season is. So you have to really, that's the problem. Like, it's May. It was May. And they were saying, oh, cancel the NFL season. It's May, people. You can't be focusing on something that's in September. Now it's July. Time flies. Now we're talking July. And now you're getting closer, 2 months away. But, none of these other leagues have even started. They also got to look at how these other leagues do. Right? They got to look at that, too. They can't just go off of what some of these health experts are saying. Because what these other leagues are doing, they're starting it in the middle of all this. Now, it's getting better. But the NFL is the luckiest sport out of all of them. The NFL is the luckiest sport out of all of them. They don't have to play through all that. Like, the MLB, their prime of their season is now. June, July is the prime of their season. We can all agree July is like the prime of the MLB season. July, August is like the prime. Is now. But that's not the case. The prime of the NFL season is October, November. That's like the prime of it. That's when you really start to see, okay, this team's going to make it. This team's going to do this. This team's got a chance. This team doesn't. This team does. That's when you start to see that. Same thing in the MLB. This is around the time, July, where you start to see teams that are going to make it. March, okay, all of April, okay. May, okay, you start to get a little notice. June, you start to really get a notice. July, you really are like, okay, this team's going to make it, this team isn't, this team's going to be tanking for the rest of the year, this team's going to call up minor leaguers, Same thing, things like that. Now, the NBA, NHL season, those would all be done right now. They finished in July, or they finished in June, I mean. There was actually something the NBA brought out the other day. It was a report. It was supposed to be Game 7 of the finals. It was like June 20th something. That was supposed to be the Game 7 of the finals. So that was officially supposed to be the final day of the NBA season for 2020. For the 2020 season. For the 2019-2020 season, I mean. But now, obviously, like, with everything going on, that's not the case. So the NFL should really scout and really see. Drop my pen. Should really see, like, how these other leagues handle it, right? How does the NHL, how does the NBA do it? How does the MLB do it, right? Because if they struggle, the cases are rising. The cases are going crazy. I mean, not just around the world. I mean, not around the country. I mean, like, the cases are rising throughout the leagues. Meaning, like, players are getting it. Like, the whole league almost is getting it. And they're really struggling. Then all of a sudden, you got yourself a little bit of a decision to make as an NFL, as the owner of the NFL and Roger Goodell, right? You got a decision to make. Do you play your season? Do you pause it? Do you wait till all is done? Do you change things? right? Instead of, because let's just say the NBA really struggles. To be honest, if the NBA and the NFL or the NBA and the NHL are going to be the main key components for the NBA to watch because they're most like their sport, right? The MLB is not like the NFL. It's not that contact. NHL and NFL, very much so. It's more like the NFL. So the NFL should actually really look at the NBA and NHL leagues because that's what's most like their sport, a lot more contact, right? You're going to have to really look at that. NFL really can't look how MLB's doing because if MLB's doing perfectly fine and the NBA is not, it's because of all the contact. The MLB is getting nowhere near as much as contact. Nowhere near much as that much contact. Nowhere. Right, so, as for the MLB, it might be a little different. Right, MLB might be a little different. You might not see all the cases spreading around the MLB, but that's because they don't have that much contact. More socially distant. Less contact within players. So, things like that. So, here's the whole deal with the NFL. I'll read an article here. While the National Football League comes closer and closer to the beginning of the 2020 season, it does so with the COVID-19 pandemic, hanging like the sword of Damocles over its head. No clue what that was. While it was widely expected that the lead up to the season would be dramatically altered, exactly what changes would be made to training camp and the preseason were unclear. Now it seems as though exact modifications, the annual build-up to Week 1 are coming into focus. According to a report by Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, the NFL is planning to announce Thursday that the 2020 preseason will be cut in half, with Weeks 1 and 4 being eliminated. This will mean the preseason will be only 2 games, with Weeks 2 and 3. The latter regarded as the dress rehearsal for the regular season standing unaltered. According to Florio, the NFL's reasoning behind this move is to give coaches extra time for training camp practices and to limit the amount of personal traveling for preseason games. I was literally going to say that. I would love to look at the Jets' schedule and see who their Week 2 and 3 games are. Because I know they have to play the Saints. The Jets have to play the Giants as well. They play the Giants. And I think they play the Eagles. So Week 2 and 3, they probably play the Giants and the Eagles. Giants are obviously at MetLife Stadium. Jets play there, Giants play there, share a stadium. And Eagles is just in Philadelphia, so that's not far for the Jets. It's a quick bus ride over there, right? They're probably trying to limit really the travel, which is something that I really got to look at. This is where you, as an NFL fan, as a fan in general, you got to look at this. Is this going to be something ongoing? Are they going to have to adjust the schedule and only have almost do East, AFC East versus NFC East, AFC South versus NFC South, AFC North versus NFC North, AFC West versus NFC West? Are you going to see something like that? Almost like you're seeing the MLB, right? What are you going to see? So, something like that. You might see something. Organized on-field activities have yet to take place in the 2020 offseason as the local restrictions related to the COVID-19 pandemic forced the elimination of traditional organized team activities and mini camps, with a virtual offseason format instead being adopted. While preseason matchups are of little consequences in grand scheme of things, I gotta higher this up a little bit. Grand scheme of things, the NFL, whoops, that is way too high. Matches are usually friendlies between teams with geographical or coaching staff connections. There are several of note that will be eliminated by these changes. Among the matchups that would likely be affected include the annual Snoopy Bowl between the New York Giants and the New York Jets. Oh. Snoopy Bowl, yeah, I know that, because MetLife, Snoopy. That will be eliminated. Among these matchups would likely be affected include the annual Snoopy Bowl between the New York Giants and the New York Jets, the first preseason game in Los Angeles. See, that's interesting because the Jets, now they don't play the Giants. That's Week 1. So maybe they are just doing the travel. Maybe they are just going to say, you know what, we're going to do the travel. First preseason games at Los Angeles, new SoFi Stadium, and the annual All-Texas matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans, among others. According According to Ben Fisher of the Sports Business Journal, the NFL is planning to reformat weeks 2 and 3 of the preseason so that each team has one home game and one road game. Okay, that usually they have 2 and 2, so that's good. Exactly how the preseason will look is just one of the issues the NFL currently has to work out, as the league is afflicted with questions pertaining to training camp and fan attendance. Wednesday saw the NFL cancel its supplemental draft, and the league is reportedly exploring possibility. Yeah, I heard this yesterday. Reportedly exploring the possibility of having fans sign a liability waiver in order to attend games. This would be so that the NFL would not have to be held responsible if a fan was to contract COVID-19 while attending a game. Yeah, so they would have to sign a liability waiver. So it might be something like, have you had this, and this, and this in the past couple of days? Will you do this if you get it and stuff like that? I've had to do it before. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. It's actually a good idea. You just got to make sure people are honest. Some people it might be one of those things saying, do you have these symptoms? And somebody might have them, but you'd be like, I want to go to an NFL game. I want to go to an NFL game. It's gonna take a lot of math too, people, because you also got to realize something. All of these leagues, they're thinking about filling up half the stadium. NASCAR did it. NASCAR had 5,000 people show up. Now, different story. There's about 100,000 seats in a NASCAR stadium. So 5,000 people is nothing. There's still 95,000 empty seats. So, you got to watch out for that. Some of these stadiums are smaller than others. Dome stadiums too. People realize that it's easier to get it inside. So they might have to open up the domes. Here's my whole thing with the liability waiver. What if somebody says, I don't have any of these, and then all of a sudden, they really do, but they just want to go to an NFL game, and then they give it to these other people, and all of a sudden it's spreading. It's the one problem. I think fans are just going to be so difficult. It's just going to be so difficult. That's unless of what I brung up this point. That's unless if you have the shacks, the food shacks, snack shacks, all that stuff is closed. Bathrooms is going to be an issue. You're going to have to open up bathrooms, but they're going to be dirty. Now, I know this might sound crazy. I was actually talking to somebody a week ago. I literally could have spent the whole podcast talking about it. I talked about it for 30 minutes. I literally sat there and talked for half an hour just talking about this whole plan I had in my head. So what if a fan goes into the stadium, right? They get tested. Now, here's my other thing. I said this with the MLB. So let's just say with the NFL, they have, how tailgating with the NFL and everything like that. So what if they do first come, first serve at tailgating, right? You find out how many tailgating spots there are. You cut that in half. You say, okay, only this amount of people's here. You have to cut it in half so then people can social distance. Believe me, you cannot let all those tailgaters tailgate. I've been to an NFL game before. I've been to plenty of NFL games before. I've seen tailgating. I've seen it. Believe me, I've seen tailgating. They are not social distancing at all. Now, at the time, they didn't need to. You don't need a social distance 3 years ago. There was no need for it. Obviously, there was no virus. Same thing with last year. Same thing with all these years except this year. You have to, tailgating is not social distance. I know some people might think, that might limit people going to the stadium because some people do tailgate all game. They'll tailgate, they'll eat all game, and then they'll just pull out a TV or something and they'll watch the game on the TV. I've tailgated once at an NFL game. I don't usually tailgate. I usually just go into the stadium. I've tailgated once at an NFL game. But I usually just go into the stadium. Usually when I'm at a game. Or I'll go. Sometimes I get field access and stuff. I'll go on the field and stuff. I've been on NFL fields before. But obviously, with my whole point here with the tailgating, so you have only so maybe you do first come first serve, right? For example, sometimes tailgating opens about 5 hours before the game. So if it's a 1 o'clock start, you have a 1 o'clock start. Let's just say, okay, so that'll be 9, right? 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock. It would be 8 o'clock because 12, 7, that's 5 hours. 8 o'clock, yeah. So it would be 8 o'clock, right? Yeah. So 8 o'clock. So you have people usually show up for tailgating 8 o'clock. Okay, so you open it up 5 hours early. Okay, so you say, okay, 8 o'clock, here you go. So, or you could open up even later. So let's just say you open at like 10 o'clock. And you say, okay, first come, first serve. We'll only allow 1,000 people to come into tailgating. So whoever for the first 1,000 are, you lead them to their spot. You say, okay, here you go. You cannot leave these boundaries. If we see you congregating, you got to leave. You're leaving, you're getting kicked out. If we see you not social distancing, if we see you, or you can even do this. You can have it mandatory to wear. Now, outdoors, it's harder to get it. That's the thing. But still, you still want to try to social distance, I guess, a little bit. Maybe you say, okay, wear a mask if you feel like you should wear a mask. No conjugating. If we find you conjugating, you got to leave. Then what you do with those remaining people that didn't get there first and weren't able to get there. Now, here's the one problem. I don't know how they're going to be able to do this. They're going to have to all these lines, right? Because some of these stadiums, you drive down and you get into the parking lot area. The line would be huge. For 1,000 cars, the line would be huge. That's the one problem about opening up all at 10 o'clock or for something like 2 hours, 3 hours before the game. When it's early in the morning, like 8 in the morning, and you're going to tailgate, you might not get as many people in the beginning. People come there as it gets going, right? That's the thing. So, it's going to be interesting. It will be very interesting. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very hard to do. But what you do is you say, okay, 1,000 people are allowed into tailgate. Those other 1,000 people can go park. They have to still social distance. You find parking spots. Maybe you mark out parking spots. Now, since all those shacks and those food shacks are going to be closed, you have more workers now. So now what you could do is, I know this might sound crazy complicated. Now what you do is you go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to, we'll work the bathroom area. So what you do is you have, I don't know how big the bathrooms are. I just say you open up the stadium to about 5,000 people in a stadium, okay? You have all those bathrooms. I don't know how many exactly. You have 5 people who are allowed to go to the bathroom at a time. Let's just say 5. Now, I know it might sound crazy with the 5,000 people. That's the whole thing. That's the whole problem with this whole situation. Do 5,000 people are going to have to go to the bathroom? No. You're going to have to try and keep it to a limit. You're going to have 5 people in there at a time. 5 people in there at a time, right? And maybe you could have workers in there that are a worker in the bathroom, maybe cleaning it, disinfecting it after each time somebody uses it. So whether it's disinfecting the sink, you got to disinfect the sink. So you maybe take a wipe or whatever, a spray, whatever you do to disinfect. You wipe down the handle on the sink, maybe wipe down the soap area. Then all of a sudden, you got it all clean. Now, you let the other person go. You keep disinfecting it. Hopefully that kills possibly whatever on there. Now, studies have shown, facts have shown, this is very good, the virus does not live on surfaces. If it does not live on there long. It usually goes away. That's a good thing. So, if somebody were to have it, they touch let's just say they touch the faucet, maybe the other person who touches that might not get it, because it has shown that it's not on surfaces. Because first off, if you're keeping your hands and stuff away from your mouth, and you still get the virus, you interact by particles, your hands won't have it, right? Your hands aren't going to have it. Because if you touch something, your hands won't have the particles, more than likely. Especially if your hands are, I don't know, more than likely you won't. That's probably why they won't do it. But, it's just going to be so hard. Any of those people go back to your seats. It's just going to be so hard, though, to get all those people in there. Very difficult. As of the beginning of July, the start of the 2020 NFL season is seemingly on track. Presently, Week 1 is on the regular season tentatively to start beginning of September 10th with a Thursday night matchup between Texans and the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. That's always Thursday night. September 13th will be really the first Sunday for football. I don't know. Like I said, it could get interesting. I would love to have fans because I love going to sporting events. Now, MLB, I know probably won't have fans. The NFL is really the only league I think that actually has a chance of having fans. That's the only really league that I feel like has a chance of having fans in attendance for their games. It's the only league. So, anyway, that's what I got for the NFL preseason. Cut to 2 games. Next up, we got the NHL draft lottery. So, next up, we got the NFL Draft Lottery. So, the NFL Draft Lottery went on a couple days ago. And so what a draft lottery is they do this in the NBA as well. I don't really know if I really like it. They should just do it how the NFL and MLB really do it or whatever. They should just do it. The worst team gets the first pick. Best team gets the last pick. That's how they do it in the NFL. Or if you trade. So, for example, Bengals were the worst team in the league. They went 2-14. They got the first pick in the draft. Understandable, right? Second team was the Redskins. They were obviously the second worst team. They got the second pick. Third pick was the Lions. Fourth pick was the Giants. Fifth was the Dolphins. Sixth were the Chargers. So on and so forth. Obviously, 11th was the Jets. Cowboys were back. Chiefs got the last pick, obviously, because they won the Super Bowl. Things like that. So, obviously, the draft lottery, I'm not a big fan. Because you could have a team... that does... Now, draft lottery, if you're bad that year, you have a higher chance of getting it. So, let's just say, for example, you are the worst record in the league. You're the worst record in all of the league, okay? So it's almost like it's a ball. So, they put your ball in there, and it's a machine. And it spins around, and you pick it. It's a lottery. It's pretty much just luck. It's luck. Now, the higher... You have more balls, and the worse you are, the more balls you have in there, the higher percentage you have. So 13% to get the first pick is actually a lot for a draft lottery. So, for example, the Knicks that one year, they had all the balls because they were the worst team in the NFL or the NBA. So, so they put the little ball the little what's that game? Table tennis, whatever. Those little balls, and they put your logo on there. They spin it around in a machine, and then they pick one. And it falls out, they pick one. Whatever that is, that's your pick. So the worse you are, the better chances you have. Now, here's what the NHL did. They're going to do whoever has the worst, run here in this whole NHL restart plan. Now, I disagree with this a little bit because here it is. So, number one will be whoever had really the worst record in the whole NHL restart plan. Number two will be the Los Angeles Kings. Number 3 is the Ottawa Senators. Number 4 is the Detroit Red Wings. Number 5 is the Ottawa Senators again. They probably traded for that pick or got both. Number 6 is the Anaheim Ducks. Number 7 is the New Jersey Devils. Number 8, Buffalo Sabres. So the Sabres, Devils, Ducks, Senators, Red Wings, Senators again, Kings, they all had not great years. Now, the Red Wings should technically get the first pick. They've had one of the worst seasons in NHL history. They should technically get the first pick. The Sabres get the 8th. Devils get the 7th. I agree with that. Sabres actually might be even a little bit better than the Devils, which I agree with. The Ducks might actually be a little bit slightly better than... It really should have been... The Red Wings should have got the first pick. The Red Wings should have got the first pick. In my opinion. Now, nobody could have got the first pick. It's whoever does worst in the whole NHL restart. Nobody got the first pick. That's the one thing I don't really like. Because, what if the Rangers do horrible in the NHL restart? We get the first pick. Do we really deserve it? We made the NHL restart. We got to the playoffs. Do we really deserve it? I would love to get the first pick, believe me. But do we really deserve it? The Red Wings are the worst team in the league. They deserve it. The fourth pick isn't bad, but... I guess people could always say the 3 best players are going to be off the board by the time they get to you. I don't know. That's unless the Red Wings find a way to trade up. That's the whole thing with the Knicks last year. Knicks fans, everybody was like, oh, Zion. And all of a sudden, they didn't get Zion. Whew. That was ugly. And everything snowballed from there. They didn't get Kyrie. They didn't get KD. They didn't get Zion. They got Julius Randle instead. Worst team in the NBA again. One of the worst teams in the NBA again. Knicks can't do anything right. But now if the Rangers get it, do they really deserve it? It could get very interesting. The Red Wings should be getting the first pick, in my opinion. But, now will you see maybe teams tanking a little bit? I don't think you will, but now a team that might not deserve the first pick is going to get the first pick. So, I think the Red Wings should have got it. Draft lotteries are weird because, like, the worst team might not even get the first pick. You could tank for no reason. Like, there's no reason to tank, technically. Because you could technically be the best team in the league and not, be that bad. And get the first pick, technically. So anyway, that's what I got for the podcast today. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Or actually, is it the other way around? Is it you have less balls in there, the better you are? Because you have less of a chance of getting picked, which means you have more of a chance of getting picked higher. It might be that. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's what I got for the podcast today. It was a good, 55-minute podcast. That was good. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Tomorrow's Friday. It's almost a weekend. 4th of July weekend. Always nice. Feels like it was just Memorial Day. I'll tell you that for sure. But anyway, I'll be back at it here tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.